Hello, Clean Fiction community. This is Lynn McConahy with Clean Fiction Audio, back again to share some reviews with you. This week we are reading 3 reviews from our Spring Edition 2023, again from the fantasy section. Now, our first review is for a book 2 by Nicki Chapelway, so if you do not want to ruin book 1, please watch last week's episode before you watch this one. Read Nicki's book, then come back and watch this episode to see if you want to go on for the second one or not. All right. Also, be nice in the comments because this is fantasy and the names in fantasy are usually very difficult to pronounce, and I cannot promise that any of them will be pronounced correctly, but I am going to try my best. All right. Now, on with the reviews. The review that I'm going to start with is Of Stars and Shadows by Nicki Chapelway. It's Of Dreams and Nightmares, Book 2. My gaze flicks up to Raven, who is resting with his eyes closed, pale and gaunt, just a shadow of the former self he was only days ago. So what is your plan? I'm assuming that you have a plan. More like a gamble. And I'm not part of that gamble? Are you sure that is wise? You know, considering our somewhat twisted history. Jay McCullough may be the fair assassin now, but her troubles are far from over. Even though she killed the fairy enslaving her brother, she and Thomas are still just as trapped in the other world as before. Only this time by the deceitfully glamorous Cid fairies of the Spring Court. Returning home seems like an impossible dream, especially when Jay discovers that Raven Crow, the king of the Spring Court and her soulmate, is still alive, if just barely. Raven needs Jay's help to discover how he survived and how to stop himself from dying again. He is fading away, and somehow Jay is weakening alongside him. The only hope for either of them is for Raven to reclaim his immortality by becoming a fairy again. However, there is only one way for mortals to turn into fairies. They must drink from the well of stars and shadow on the night of the Feast of Starlight. Each court has a way to the well, but they guard it fiercely to keep just any human from becoming one of them. With every other way to the well barred, Jay and Raven are left with only one option. They must enter a deadly labyrinth created by the Spring Court. If they can survive, and if they can make it through to the other side, the well is theirs. But in the fairy world, nothing is that simple, especially where the Spring Court is concerned. Forced to trust the man who ruined her, or risk losing him forever, Jay struggles with her convoluted feelings toward both Raven and the fairy world. However, when her family arrives looking for her, Jay feels further strained. Everything Jay has ever cared about is that at the mercy of the other worlds, and she can't shake the feeling that no matter how hard she fights to win, she is going to lose this time. The genre for this book is clean romance and fairy tale fantasy. It is available as an audiobook on Amazon. Action. There's not much in the way of action this time around. If of Gold and Iron is Infinity War, Of Stars and Shadows is more like Endgame, in that the main cast of characters stop and take some time to figure out how they're going to achieve their goals of saving both Raven and Jay from death. The action picks up in the third act, with a labyrinth scene reminiscent of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Except it's bloodier, and there's a bit more death. That's as far as I can go without spoiling anything. Adventure. The adventure is slower paced as well. Jay and Raven, along with Thomas, have to somehow make it to the Well of Stars and Shadows, while Jay and Raven are both dying due to their souls being connected. And also keep out of the clutches of Cellier, who wants to kill Raven so that he can be the king of the Spring Court. It's an adventure to save their lives, but will they survive it? This question will keep readers invested until the end to find out the answer. Magic. Where there are fairies, there's magic. Raven can shapeshift. Fae can travel through transportation, which is the same as apparition in the Harry Potter series. Cinead can manipulate the spring court to do his bidding, and staying in the spring court slows down Raven's deterioration process. Other than that, it's the same magic that can be found in Book 1. Refer to the magic section of my Of Gold and Iron review for more information. Romance. Not even death can come between Raven and Jay. This couple is still quick with the quips as well as being in denial of their feelings for each other. They love each other, but they would rather die than admit it. They share several swoony kisses throughout the story, but admit their feelings? No. Their soul bond, the Fae equivalent of marriage. They are soul-bound, the Fae equivalent of marriage, and still are in denial. Now that's dedication. I love their kinda, sorta, almost, but not quite romance so much. It's the best part of the series. Religion. Just like Book 1, there's not much of anything religious going on here. Jay mentions praying to God and return home to Earth. Cinead's servant Sarah mentions that she's named after Sarah in the Bible, and that's all on the religion front to report. This book is written by a Christian author, but could be categorized as clean secular. Anyone will be able to enjoy this, and you can never have enough clean Fae romance. Final thoughts. I loved Book 2 just as much as Book 1. I love Nicki's writing style, and her sarcastic sense of humor speaks to me on a deep level. If you enjoyed Of Gold and Iron, enjoying the sequel is practically a given. I can't wait to get my hands on the final book of the series later this year, but at the same time, I don't want the story to end. This book is rated a B. This is the full blush, people. If you are prone to fainting, you will need a fan. The review, which I forgot to mention at the beginning, is by Brianna Wilkie. Her information and Nicki Chapelway, the author's information, will be in the description of the video. Now, for our next review. The next review is The Princess Companion by Melanie Cellier. Danger and romance await a woodcutter's daughter in a royal palace. One dark and stormy night, lost and alone, Alyssa finds herself knocking on the door of a castle. After a lifetime spent in the deep forest, Alyssa has no idea what to expect on the other side. What she finds is 2 unruly young princesses and 1 very handsome prince. When Alyssa accepts the job of princess companion, she knows her life will change. What she doesn't know is that the royal family is about to be swept up in unexpected danger and intrigue, and that she might be the only thing standing between her kingdom and destruction. This retelling of the classic fairy tale, The Princess and the Pea, reimagines the risks and rewards that come when one royal family goes searching for a true princess. The genre is clean romance and fairy tale and folklore adaptations, and you can find an audiobook or audio CD on Amazon. This review is by Alexandria Fredrick, once Alexandria Maricola, of 2125 Books. Her information can be found in the description of the video. If you're looking for a novel with the perfect balance of fantasy, romance, and fairy tale vibes, this story is the perfect fit for you. The Princess Companion is a retelling of The Princess and the Pea and is full of adventure, court intrigue, and characters you will quickly come to cherish. The main character, Alyssa, experiences growth that I was overjoyed to see, and the theme of found family gives this already whimsical and emotional story an especially heartwarming touch. Action. The elements of court and political intrigue introduce a fair amount of action into the story. There are some intense scenes that involve fighting and capture, but they are written in a way that is really engaging without ever becoming uncomfortable or graphic. Adventure. The story begins in a storm-weary forest where an unexpected refuge awaits, and continues on to a royal court where treachery and precarious political alliances threaten to dethrone the familiarity and love the characters have found. There are spies and jealous courtiers alike to contend with, and every page will keep your heart racing with affection and concern for Alyssa and her new-found family. Romance. Romance plays a large role in this fairy tale retelling. The kingdom of Arcadia is in desperate need of a political alliance to restore its fortunes, and the queen is certain that her fairy godmother can help her son find a true princess before they run out of time. This does introduce a minor element of magic into the story, but it is not a focal point as the book continues. There is some flirtation and kissing, as well as a very brief instance of unwanted physical attention. I was impressed with the author's ability to convey the love and romance between characters without it ever becoming inappropriate. Religion. No religions are mentioned in this story. There is a passing reference to a high king who rules over the godmothers and ensures true love for princes and princesses, but no indication is given that this high king is meant to represent God. Final thoughts. I was really enchanted by this retelling of The Princess and the Pea. Arcadia and the country surrounding it feel so vivid and real, as if you could climb inside the pages and find yourself enmeshed in the intricacies of the court right alongside Alyssa. The romance never overpowers the rest of the plot, and I particularly love the family dynamics and relationships play such a big role throughout the book. Whether you're new to the fairy tale genre or a loyal reader of it, I highly recommend this story. This book is rated B. This is the full blush, people. If you are prone to fainting, you will need a fan. More information on Melanie Cellier can be found in the description of the video. Now on to our next review. Turned too many pages. Whoopsie. All right. Red Rope of Fate by K.M. Shea, one of my favorite authors. And this review is by me, so I will not mention myself in the section where I usually mention the reviewers because it was written by me. And let's read our book blurb. In a land where humans and elves find it difficult to communicate, Tari, an elf, is bound to Captain Arion, a human military officer, in a ceremony designed to promote friendship between the two races. When the ceremony is over, the pair discover that the impossible has happened. They can understand each other in spite of the language barrier. Thrown into a storm of politics, Tari and Arion are put in danger by those who want humans and elves to remain separate. To make matters worse, Tari realizes she has fallen in love with Arion, who has the emotional capabilities of a rock. As both societies dictate that an elf and a human can never be together, Tari must conceal her feelings. Unfortunately, the taciturn Arion is watchful and attentive to Tari's well-being, constantly pushing her to her limits with his loyalty, friendship, and dreadfully informal habit of touching her. If Tari and Arion survive, their tumultuous relationship will either strengthen their country's alliance or cripple the human courts of nobility. The deciding factor will be Arion and his indecipherable feelings for Tari. This book's genres are romantic, fantasy, and fairy tale. It is available on Amazon as an audiobook and an audio CD. I am always a big fan of Shea's books, and this one did not disappoint. She always seems to be able to bring unique twists to some of my favorite tropes. This makes her books stand out in a saturated market, but enough gushing. On with the review. Action. I was surprised to find a good deal of action woven into this story. The cover and blurb give the book a Lady in the Night sort of vibe, which usually lends itself to a more subdued story. This is not so when it comes to this book. There are fight scenes as well as dire punishments. The knight, who in this case is a captain, is in every way a military man with a mind sharp as flint. But don't be too sure that the lady is going to be a wilting flower. Adventure. As usual with Shea's books, the world building is on point. She creates a complex framework of two very different cultures who have decided to live at peace with one another despite a significant language barrier. This book involves the use of sorcery and magic, which is usually included in a book that contains elves. The magic is used to help bridge the language gap along with sign language, which I thought was a nice touch. Romance. If we are being honest, romance is why you pick up a book like this. I was hoping for sweet with substance and received what I desired. I wouldn't call the characters themselves sweet, but I also wouldn't call their relationship at all spicy. I would define it as a mutually respecting and chivalrous relationship. Religion. There is no mention of religion or religiosity in this book. Final thoughts. I love this book as I have many others by K.M. Shea, but this one is something special. A strong but light female character mixed with a gruff but chivalrous male must be my favorite combination, or maybe it is now. The use of a language barrier and having the two different countries be such close allies was also a breath of fresh air. This is a book that I can read again and again, and the best part is that the characters continue to pop up in subsequent books of the series. I rated this book an A, showing some ankle, a perfect book for the Puritan in your life. And you can find more information about K.M. Shea in the description of this video. That is all our reviews for today. If you have any questions about the Clean Fiction Levels of Clean rating system, feel free to visit our website and look under Levels of Clean. And you can also go to cleanfictionmagazine.com to become a subscriber. Only $10 a year gives you access to our entire backlog of magazines and future magazines for a whole year. We publish quarterly, so that's 4 magazines, $10. And then if you think about it, we have 10 back issues as of right now. So you would be getting 10 magazines plus 4 more. So 14 magazines for $10. That's a great deal. Go grab it. So that's all for this week, and I will see you next week on Clean Fiction Audio. Have a good one.